Balloon. I went to JU here for my engineering, and then after my engineering in 2002, I joined the company here itself. Okay, and I thought that I'll never leave the city ever, but after about 8 years, when my dad passed away, for some reason I had to leave the city. Okay, and then I could not stay outside, and I had this thing that if I leave Calcutta, I would leave the country. I don't want to stay anywhere else apart from Calcutta in this country. My opinions has changed over a period of time, but I could not stay outside India for long. I had this weird feeling that in this decade, in our lifetime, it is here where the action is, and we should actually come back and work here. And so I came back, and one way to come back is basically to join higher education again, right? So I left my job. I was doing pretty decently in my job. I was working with most of the people who are MBAs and so-called Ivy League guys. I was working in the CEO's office, even though I did not have any MBA back then. I used to work in the enterprise risk management domain back then, okay? But then I thought, okay, if everybody else is MBA in this office, then I should also probably become an MBA. So I got back to IIM Bangalore, and then I decided to opt out of campusing because I thought that that's not where I really want to be. And then I came back to Calcutta, and I started my first venture, which was a terrible failure. Which was more about art and passion rather than business. But then quickly I realized that that's not how life works. I still have a beautiful wife, and I have my mom and everybody else, so I had to go back to job, okay? And again, I was pushed out of the country and then stayed there for some time. I thought that again, I have to come back, so I came back with another job in a company called Jabong.com. Maybe some of you know. I was the chief risk officer. My job was basically to list the company in London Stock Exchange and New York Stock Exchange. Because I come from risk, they thought that I could do something there. Unfortunately, after joining there about 6 months, both the founders who I was working with, they were X'd out by the investors for some reason I can't mention here, but then I was again. It kind of validated the same thing that I always believe that corporate life is not for me, and then I decided to do something of my own. By then I had decent amount of money to not to take up a job, and so I kind of did not take a job. My wife was pregnant back then, so you can understand what was the kind of situation that I was in. But I decided not to go back to a job. And then for about 1.5 years, I have worked with a lot of startups, about 120 plus startups to be precise, where I have been helping them on building a product and getting their product to the market, which ironically I could not do myself. By then I have tried 2 startups of my own, both failed. But coming from the strategy background, I was extremely aloof. I mean, believe me, you won't believe me. Believe me, you won't believe me that how far away the people who sit on the boards are from the reality of product innovation. They don't understand anything about users. They don't understand what people want and what you are offering. They just understand spreadsheets, and they understand projections. They understand jargons, and they are very good with words. That's all. Okay. And I thought that okay, that is why so many startups fail. And so when so many other startups, early stage companies, they approached me for helping, even though I was not probably the right person to help them, I never said no. I always said yes, and then I figured out. Okay, and this yes and phrase is a very powerful one. Whenever you face something, people ask you something, you say yes and instead of no but or yes but, you'll see magic happens. Anyways, more of that later. So then what happened after about 1.5 years of working with early stage companies, one of my big four consulting guys, he told me that, okay guys, Avijit, what you are doing is called, there's a fancy name for it, it's called innovation advisory. I said, really? Okay, that sounds interesting. Then what should I do? He said, okay, why don't you initiate something on that line? And then in 2017, Nonlinear started. So I formed Nonlinear with this objective of helping early stage companies, early stage founders. And the irony of working with early stage founders is that they are amazing people, okay? But they are amazing people with not so impressive wallets, okay? So they don't have the money, right? They have great ideas, they have got amazing vision, but they do not know how to get there, and they do not have the resources. So imagine if you are serving a customer who does not have a capacity to pay. That's another challenge that I had to face, building something for them. And over the last 5 years, I believe I have overcome that. And that's why I'm still in business. and then we are here. Now, why am I saying this? Because my exposure to problem solving is not new. I mean, all of us in our daily life, in our jobs, at home, in our career, we do problem solve, right? Problem solving is absolutely natural to us, all of us in this room, right? But then there is a difference between the type of problem that we are taught to solve in universities and in schools from the kind of problems that we actually face in the real world, right? So for example, if you are not a PhD, barring the PhDs, because they are taught the real life problem solving, which is it is called the wicked problems. And then as opposed to that, the problems that we are good at solving, that is called the analytical problem. Now, analytical problems are problems that can be solved by looking at the data, past transactions, past data, right? And then there are hundreds of tools and techniques and methodologies that we are taught in engineering schools, in business schools, which teach us to solve analytical problems. It's like, imagine you are driving a car and you are looking at your rear view mirror, right? So whatever is reflected on the rear view mirror is coming from the road that you have already traveled, from the past, right? That's like analytics or analysis or whatever you call it. But then, if you only keep looking on the rear view mirror, sooner or later you'll bump into something or somebody, right? Your ride is definitely not going to be smooth. So we have to look forward. And when we are looking forward through the window, we are looking at the road which is ahead of us, and we have no idea about it, right? So that means no data. We have either no or limited data. Now, how do you solve a problem when you have, in the context of no or low data, as opposed to the one which is full of data, the past, right? So then, and the beauty of good driving is that you have to have both. You cannot say that, okay, I would not look at the rear view mirror. What will happen is, when you will be changing lanes, or you'll be changing your direction, you will always end up hitting somebody or something, right? So the idea is that how much and no more. How much of looking at past data, and when I know that I'm just driving on this lane straight and there's no other cars around, should I look at the rear view mirror? Not necessarily, right? But if you want to switch your lane, you must look at the rear view. Otherwise, you'll bump into some other car, right? So it might sound like philosophy, but believe me, this is precisely how organizations have run. This is precisely how you can run your career. This is precisely you can run any small business or big business, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, coming to today's agenda, I would not digress too much. We are going to discuss about, or not discuss, we'll play a game which will teach us um, an amazing framework called design thinking. You might be knowing about it, right? It's extremely popular. How many of you have never heard of design thinking? Show of hands. Never heard of it? One. Anybody else? Everybody has heard of it. So, for the benefit of your name, Purvi. So, let me just quickly give you the very foundational basics of design thinking. Now, I told you that there are two kinds of problems in the world, right? And I call them the problem universe. Okay. And in the problem, there are two segments to the problem universe. One is the analytical paradigm, where it is all about known unknowns. Okay. And then there is the other end of that spectrum, where it is completely unknown unknowns. Okay. That's the wicked paradigm. And for all sort of mathematics or algorithms that we can build, they're good at solving the problems in the analytical paradigm. Just to give you an example, let's say if I ask you how long the Uber driver took to reach you when you are sitting and like you are at a location and you want to, and maybe that is 15 minutes. Okay, you want to reduce that to 7 minutes or 2 minutes. Is that an analytical problem or a wicked problem?
It's an analytical.
It's an analytical problem. Why? Because you have hundreds of data, transactions, past transactions in a particular given city condition. You can create a function where you have some dependent variables and an outcome is, let's say, the TAT, the turnaround time for the driver to show up. And that is a function of XYZ parameters, and for each of the parameters you can gather some data, you can do some analytics, and you can figure out a model, you can apply some methodologies to improve that process, maybe Lean, Six Sigma, whatever, right? And then you can apply statistics and you can create a model, right? It's an analytical problem, it's not a wicked problem. But think about, let's say, who doesn't love clean streets and clean cities, right? Let's talk about littering. Okay, do you think, let's say, some part of the city is not really, it's littered all over, right? It's not really clean. Do we like it? Nobody likes it, but still it's there. Is that a problem? Yes, it's a problem. If I ask you to solve littering in a particular street, let's say in Park Street, I don't want to see any litter. Or in Raja Bazaar in Calcutta, I don't want to see any litter. The severity is definitely different, right? Would you be able to solve that with mathematics, with statistics, with philosophy, with politics? I don't know. What kind of problem is that? It's a wicked problem. You understand? Let's say climate change, temperature rising, wicked problem. Corruption, wicked problem, right? Let's say, okay, but tell me the price of a cheesecake on Swiggy or Zomato, is that a wicked problem? The price discovery. You want to know whether your buy is the cheapest cheesecake in the town. What kind of problem is that? It's an analytical problem. Easy to solve, right? Now, design thinking is not good for solving analytical problems. Okay, there are other methodologies which are like a Six Sigma or trees, or not trees, maybe Six Sigma or Lean. That kind of stuff is, it's proven to solve analytical problems well. But then how do I solve wicked problems? The more important problems in the world is not how much I am buying my cheesecake at, but can I solve the problem of, let's say, hunger or littering or corruption or anything else which is of global significance, right? It does not only deal with me. Or let's say availability of blood samples in remote areas. Let's say it's a hilly area somewhere in Africa where the road transport is absolutely pathetic, and then there's a population of, let's say, 100,000 people living in a particular area where there is only one hospital, and then there are of course in the hospital there would be many kinds of patients and they need blood. Okay, and maybe it takes 48 hours to get one sample from from the nearby city, let's say. What happens? Is that an analytical problem? Again, no, because you can ask why the roads are not good. Because of corruption. Why there is a corruption? Because there is not enough employment opportunity in the region. Why there is not enough opportunity for career in that region? Because of economic reasons. Why there is no such economic development in that place? Because you might say there is corruption in the country. It's like a endless loop that you will get in. There's no solution to that. But then I'm giving you a real example. It is a real case study that I'm talking about. Now you might think, okay, what about if I deliver the blood samples with drones to those areas? Will that be a good solution? Yes, there's a company in California. They created a specialized drone. Okay, not the drones that we usually see. It's like that drone it requires a particular arrangement to throw it into the air because it's a low-cost drone. It does not depend on a vertical lift-off. Okay, it does not have a vertical lift-off. They created that, and they found that okay, there is no use case in it. Like people will not care. Okay, and it's expensive. Why? I mean that investment in that money will not justify for delivering your pizza. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Can we deliver pizza with drones? Of course we can. Should we do that? Probably not yet, because there are more important problems which are yet to be solved. Correct. So what these guys did? They went to Africa. They set up their network there, and then there is this remote place, a remote village, and a remote hospital where they need blood and life-saving medicines, and they deliver it through drones. In order to arrive at a problem statement like that and a solution like that, you cannot just rely on analytics. Am I making sense? So and what kind of framework you can use in those kind of situations? Design thinking is one of the ways. I'm not again saying this is the only way. There are many other ways. There's another fantastic framework called TRIZ, T-R-I-Z. Maybe some other day. But then today what we're going to do is we're going to understand and learn about this fantastic framework which was popularized by a design studio called IDEO Design Labs in the US, and they were about 30 years back, by the way. And it was so popular in the US that MIT created a design school. They have a D school. I don't know if you know about it. And this David, the founder of IDEO, he created that school, and it has been running ever since. And the impact of design thinking has spilled over from technology to politics to economics to healthcare to anything that you can imagine, which has a problem which cannot be solved by data alone. Make sense? So that's a long introduction. Can I just keep this away? Should I? It will still record, right? Okay, a little bit of myself. I think I told a lot about myself, but right now I'm living in Bangalore. I'm running this company called Nonlinear. It's a design studio, and we primarily work with early stage companies. But at the same time, as I said, early stage founders are not really resource loaded, so I have to trade off with larger companies as well. And we will see larger companies, like let's say what happens. Do I have a whiteboard or something? No, right? Okay, just imagine this. So now let's say you are a startup and you are a startup founder. You found something interesting, right? Some interesting problem to solve. You solved it extremely frugally. And what you did was you created a pick, right? You created a pick. Imagine a pick, like a hillock. And there is value there, right? Once you create the value, what is the next thing that you want to do? Protect the value, right? You start ring fencing that pick. Oh, if you have to come to this place, you have to pay me something. Not everybody is allowed, right? You want to ring fence. whatever, not tax, I mean pricing, whatever pricing you're doing, right? So you created some value and you want to protect it. You don't want other people to take it away from you. That's why you have intellectual property rights, you have all sort of protection and regulation and all that, right? But then once your focus shifts from value creation to value protection, what happens? The nature of the organization changes. So let's say you had only 5 people when you started off, all 5 were your friends, nobody was getting paid, right? And you built something that was of some value, so you took it to some early users, maybe first 100 users, and they said, oh, this is fantastic, I will pay you for this, okay? With that story and with that narrative, you went to a VC to raise money, right? And so you hired the next 500 engineers, and then 500 more, and then you started growing your company, your sales grew, right? And then what happened? You have to keep on that momentum. You have to keep growing because you have now investors. They will say, "Arey, why are you not growing?" Right? And in order to grow, you need to protect the IP you have created. Whatever you have created, you have to protect. Now, the kind of people who helps you to get there, to create the solution, value creation, are not the right kind of people who would be able to protect the value. You understand what I'm saying? So people who are absolutely risk takers, they joined you in the initial phase. But then, when the company grew, you became a little bit more stable and secure, then you need a different kind of people who will join you. That now you are secure, it's not just your friends, but people who are just joining you for money, for a better compensation, better lifestyle, whatever it is, better opportunity, they're joining you. What kind of mindset are you attracting? Very different. I'm not saying good, bad. I'm saying different. They are not the most creative kinds. Would you agree with me? Yes? So if that is the case, with that set of people, you can't keep innovating. Because innovation requires a very different genre of people, different mindset, right? And that mindset you are losing as you are growing your revenue, you are attracting the wrong set of people. You agree, right? It's like, I do not have, as a kid, I do not have anything. Kid in a sense, let's say in my 20s, I don't have anything, right? And I am looking for a girlfriend. Who's going to come to me? Where are you studying? What is your prospect? Oh, you got a job. You got a job in McKinsey. Okay, there will be. Don't get me wrong. There are many takers of that guy, right? He would not be left alone. He is not really a really bad person. I'm just assuming he's a normal guy. Yeah? Now, the kind of people you are attracting at the later stage of your journey and the kind of people you are attracting at the early stage of your journey are very different. And the more and more you grow, the more and more you will attract different set of people, and they will not be able to create new values for you. And then what will happen? There will be another guy who's going to sit in his basement and then create something which will disrupt your business. And that will create another peak which is higher than you. Am I making sense to you? And then all other people, and then customers are absolutely not loyal. Please understand this. Nobody cares about you except for your mom. Sometimes not even mom, if you are unlucky. Okay? So what happens is, we will attract a different set of people. And then innovation is a bigger challenge for early stage companies because you are resource frugal, but it is even bigger, the challenge is even bigger for later stage companies, the bigger companies. And then, I have a term called elephant learning to dance. A startup is more like a cheetah. It can run for 30 seconds and then it will exhaust all the fuel. If in 30 seconds it can grab something, he has his breakfast, lunch, dinner. Otherwise, he's hungry. Okay? But when you become an elephant, it's absolutely stable. Both animals are majestic. I'm not questioning that. But they are not good for the same work. Cheetah is all about speed. Elephant is all about stability. Am I making sense? Right? If you ask an elephant to run like a cheetah, it will not be able to do that. So therefore, innovation is a problem because the cheetah has only 30 seconds. make a kill, you are there, otherwise you are killed. But as an elephant, you can survive for a very long time. You are also extremely powerful, right? But you ask an elephant to dance, it's not happening. So innovation is a challenge in bigger companies. Why? Because of the culture of innovation. It's not about money. The irony of innovation is that in smaller companies or in startups, it's because of the lack of resources that they are unable to innovate. At least that's what they think. And in bigger companies, they believe that I have all the money to buy all the talent in the world, but that is why I'm not able to innovate, because I am attracting the wrong set of talents, because they are coming to me for the wrong reason, for the higher compensation. They're not aligned to my meaning and my mission. Am I making sense to you? They don't care about what the problem I'm solving. They only care about whether they're getting their compensation at the end of the day on time or not. Do they have a fancy office? Do they go for a good vacation? Can they afford to hire their team? Etc. and etc. Now, I want you to play this game. So, to build a little bit of appreciation for this innovation effort, no matter whether you work for a big company or a small company. So the takeaway, or let's say when we walk out of this cafe today, I want you to build a little bit of appreciation for the sport of innovation, okay? And therefore we have this game. Now, I will explain the game, and then maybe there are certain rules that you have to follow. Can I start this off?
And in all the three stages, there are different ways of thinking. So first, it is divergent thinking, when you have a broad and expanded horizon where you can figure out a problem, draw a lot of solution, and then we go to the evaluation phase. So now that you have all the solution, you figure out which solution is the most implementable one, which will be the most feasible one, and which is also nowadays, which is in trend, which is the sustainable one. Later on, then we go ahead and narrow down the idea and implement the best possible solution. So these are the takeaways that I have drawn out from this working of design.
When your why is known, your how is clear, and when your how is clear, then you need to jump like what's next. You need to strategize according to it, according to your audience and user, and then you have to look back like why you started. Right? When you start at some point, you need to get inspiration out of it. And I need to think, and I need to hear all my basics, right? Why I've been doing and why I'm stuck. If I'm stuck, let's figure out, what's the next process, or what's the next strategy, and how I can serve my users or to the people around me. This is my key takeaway.
Okay. Do you want to add anything around competing for a solution in a particular market? How does competition look like? Did you get any learning about competition and collaboration in the race of innovation?
Yes. So competition is very tough in a market, right? Like whatever we are doing or whatever the company is doing, perhaps or probably the other company is also doing, right? So we need to figure out what products or what key features we are including, or are we solving it?
Especially in this game, while playing this game, did any point come out in your mind as a lesson, or it became evident because you were playing this game?
So there are these two companies which collaborated a few months back, I guess. That is the McDonald's and Burger King. They have those hoardings and they were collaborating with their ideas, which eventually benefited both the companies. So when we collaborated, I had some idea and she had some idea. We put them together and we figured out that the process, which could have taken a little bit longer time, we shortened the process. We reached the solution faster. And we were able to implement it a lot faster than rest of the people did.
So it means that in the game of innovation, more the merrier, right? So it's not invention. How is invention different from an innovation? Is that one simple invention can happen in somebody's mind in a lab or in a research paper, but then making it out in the market, like making it work in the market, in the real world, requires a lot more than just solving a particular problem. There are many facets to it. We touched upon the 10% of innovation, right? It's not just one genius person who's solving everything for the world. It is always a collaborative effort, and then more the merrier is the game, is the name of the rule in the game of innovation. Fantastic, thank you.
Basics of the game.
That's okay.
But as we went along, what I found very important was that we need to find what are the strengths we are bringing and how that could possibly collaborate. Not just compete but collaborate with, because I had the complete card and I was thinking, first of all, how can I use it? But then I think it helped that I understood the course a little bit. And even more than the game, Avijit, what I loved today was the learning about your entire journey, your personal journey.
Okay.
And one of the thoughts that came to my mind was the difference between an invader or a warrior and a defender. So the first part what we talked about, when you have an idea, you come across, you are a warrior who is fighting the equilibrium that is existing there. You are creating a positive disequilibrium. Whereas when you become a defender, then you're trying to fence around it and protect it and just make sure that it doesn't get disturbed. But the whole overall scenario is changing so rapidly. So that is something that I found we were, finding. It took a little time to understand whether we are on the same side or we are across the fence.
Yeah. Any particular observation about the mechanics of the game? The way we played the game, the rules that we have, the white card, the compete collaborate card, the black cards, which is like the innovation killers, right?
Knowledge of rules is very important, and that was something that killed us because we didn't understand what the template is in which we have to play the game.
And then what about the role of the...
But I am very happy with the regulator. Because the regulator was chosen because of his personality and he fitted it like a hand on a glove. Absolutely.
He did a good job?
Very good.
So
key strategy or key USP, because when we entered the market, we were only after winning. So, like, if we had patience and if we had didn't collaborate or waited for some time and go through the market, then we could have been able to reach at the end of the game. So, patience and our USP should be kept with us, and then set the strategies when are going out in the game. So strategies we can change, but the USP should be on hold.
Anjali touched upon a very important point, which is patience. In the game of innovation, we often lose out, run out of our own steam, right? Again, that kind of goes back to the points that Fulvi and Shubhasri was talking about, which is knowing your why. You might have seen that this game has got 13 steps in the inspiration phase, 15 in the ideation phase, and only 4 in implementation. So the whole idea of figuring out your why you are doing this, is front-loaded. If you know your why clearly, then you can stay in the game for longer. You will have more patience because you really care about that cause and that person for whom you are trying to solve, right? I think that's what you were talking about. So patience definitely comes in as a real asset that you might have, which will probably help you stay in the game for longer. And who knows, maybe the other people will be out and then you are the only player who's playing, and then probably you can win. You can make your own game. Fantastic.
Was left to chances, as usually what happens in the marketplace. People talked about why and how. It's very important of the when. The when actually makes the winner or the loser of the collaborator and the competitor. So these games, particularly, I do workshops on ideation to implementation. Now, when you have inspiration in place, when you have to implement it, this game makes the backbone of design thinking process. But ultimately, this is more a strategy game than a design thinking game.
Yes.
So when we make it into a structure of a design thinking, we can use it for workshops of strategy more than design thinking, because when I do simulation in the class, I use it for more strategic interventions. Regulators are left to a lot of decision making. I felt so, because Rahul did a fantastic job of giving 5 cards, 10 cards, 15 cards to speed up the game. Similarly, he also intervened in a different way where I felt bad at such times and I kept silent when I was feeling good.
Okay.
So, as usual, that's a choice of the competitor. So it happens like that, but the regulator had his own say always. So, fantastic, but still I will tell you that too much left to chances of distribution of cards sometimes turns you off from the position of a strength. So you become too weak. So something like that. So that's my take.
Oh, that's nice. So I guess, I would just like to comment here on one little thing. The market is always uncertain. You never know. But how an entrepreneur or an innovator or somebody who is a problem solver is different from others is that he has or she has a positive view of the world, a positive view of the future. Because if you get into the subject of future casting, you'll see that there's a beautiful model which talks about a probable future, plausible future, possible future, and a future which is improbable. Okay. Now here, an entrepreneur typically has a positive view of the future. He believes that this problem can be solved.
Right.
Okay, and then that belief itself defies or gathers enough momentum to face or stay in the game. Again, going back to the point of patience. And then, is there uncertainty in the world? Yes. Is there enough resources in the world to deal with the uncertainty? I do not know. But then, the entrepreneur is different. He is one in a million because of his conviction that I can solve this. And it can be a stupid belief, but sometimes that works. You know what I'm trying to say?
But one thing important I would say here, see, an entrepreneur who is an innovator also is a passionate guy. He will always stick to his point when the entire world says no and say that there is a way to work it out, number one. Number two is, in any innovation process, there are spin-offs.
Yeah.
So where that spin-off comes in. So when you see this yellow stick-in pads, these are spin-offs actually. So if you see the procedural development proceeds. So I think you can add another dimension to this game where you have spin-offs of innovation also.
Yeah. So I get it. So this is not an ideation process.
True.
This is just the basics of the whole framework of design thinking as a strategy game. But then if you're talking about the ideation process, it's very different. There we actually follow the steps that we have given here, and then we have iterations and modifications of ideas and stuff like that. So Piyush and Rahul they were the regulator in this game. So we want to understand not being a player, and watching everybody from a distance, what does it mean? What was the key takeaway from this game for you?
Thank you. As a regulator, I share what I observed and what my thought process was. The first thing I felt was that there will be any value which we will get. We will get the value only when a team reaches, completes the deck, 33-1. If none of the team reaches 1, no one gains anything. Assuming that there's a market outside, there are customers outside, they will benefit only when someone completes the process, right? So with that, the point of view comes of whether the player should collaborate or compete. Accordingly, the decision had to come, right? One thing I observed was different players in the game had different level of ramping up. Some quickly picked up the game and started, strategizing.
The learning
curve were different. Yeah. But once everyone was on the same page, the game moved much faster and the game was much more interesting because they could
they could not just think about themselves but understand what the other is playing and decide whether they want to collaborate, they want to compete, and that is where the other cards started coming out.
Okay.
Right? Now about collaboration versus competing. That is the point which came out earlier as well, right? So I felt that the goals shifted because while any company would want a quick go-to-market to start getting the value, the goal shifted to competing in the middle of the game instead of rather going to the market first, completing the series first. That is where we could not get to complete the series. I think that was a very important observation from my point of view, that collaboration should have. There's a term called cooperation.
Yes.
Basically, you are competing, but you are also collaborating with your opponent so that you gain value, both of you gain value, and that kind of thing. I think that slowly that would have come in case the game was longer. That was my observation.
Thanks, Rahul.
Thank you, Rahul. I will start from the design thinking process overall. So, as of now, I got to understand it in 5 ways. One is that you empathize, then you define, then you ideate, then you prototype it, and then you perform the test. So, when the 5 processes came along, and I will be talking specifically about my table, to begin with, all the teams, or all the competitions, the people they were starting it all alone, and they were having their own beliefs and own thought procedures to deal with the problem that they had to. But when it came to the middle ground and they decided or they saw that there are certain points which will, like Rahul mentioned, that there will be some benefits that they are going to get when they are going to get a collaborative approach, they try to check it in and evolve accordingly. So I will put in that empathize part, which I mentioned in the design thinking's first step. One of our members, Mr. Banerjee, he was left out. He was choosing the black card, he was getting the wrong one, and he was quite not in the competition in that moment. But at that moment, the two gentlemen, they decided to approach, they have that collaborative mindset, and they went so close. And it was like they were just 2 cards out to win this game. But unfortunately, it didn't happen because of their other team's strategy. So that strategy and that growth mindset and that collaborative approach is very important. And as a regulator, we need to make sure that that happens in today's system. Because if that goes away and if everyone competes it, then there will be a difficult approach to the entire game set. And there will be always a difficult situation where you will be able to have a biased approach for someone. So you need to make sure that there is a collaboration, there is a healthy competition, but along with that, everyone evolve accordingly. So for me, when I see that one team has won it fair and nicely, but the other team did came around and as a collaborative approach made their step and were just one step down to win the competition overall.
Now, I'll tell you another thing. What happened in our table, there was a duopoly. So we collaborated. Then there was a chance of making a single team in our market. Okay, that didn't happen because the first offer was rejected. Because I gave the offer to collaborate. Next, when the offer came back, I found myself in a much mature position. So I thought that I will compete now, no longer collaboration. So the mindset keeps on taking. This is more a strategy game than a design thinking game. I feel so.
I will talk about the strategy part also. So once the team of ladies, they were having a very, very ideal strategy when they were playing the game. So they were not releasing the cards for the other team to get the card numbers, and for which they complained me. The other team did complain. They came and like they are storing the cards, they are not releasing it out so that we can choose our numbers and we can release it into the market. But they had their say, and that is how you make the competition grow accordingly, and that needs to be understood in a healthy manner when it comes to both the side of competition. So that is how I feel that regulator plays an important role in balancing the things out.
That's nice. In this world, there are 2 kinds of people. There is one kind, they wake up in the morning, they open their eyes. The first thought that comes to their mind is, what can I get out of today from this world? And they typically think and even say this, what's in it for me? You approach them, can you help this guy to get a job? What's in it for me? can you help me to connect to this guy? What's in it for me? They always and always ask that question. I'm not saying that's a bad question to ask, but I'm saying that there is this set of people who always and always, when they open up their eyes, first thing in the morning, they think, what can I get from this world? And then there is other kind of people. They always and always think about, what can I give to this world today? What can I offer to this world? To my son, daughter, mom, dad, neighbor, my team, my company, my country. You understand what I'm saying? And then there is a fundamental difference. I'm not saying one is good or another is evil, okay? All I'm trying to say is, there's a fundamental difference where they come from. I would repeat, where they come from. We all come from a place. I'm talking in abstraction, okay? We come from a place. If you come, who is the person who always asks? Somebody who does not have. Isn't it? If I do not have, I will ask. And if I have everything that I can think of, I can give. Right? Now, my company, with Nonlinear, the only core philosophy that our company is founded upon is that the world is abundant and you are abundant. So if you come from the place of abundance as a mindset, it might be that you do not have the money or the resources or the knowledge, information, people, connection, network, whatever it is. You may not have that right now, but still you still can be abundant. Abundance is a mindset. If you come from that place that I am abundant as a human being, I came here naked, I will leave from this world naked. There's nothing that I can carry from this world. It means that I have everything that I need to do well in this world. And therefore, you can start thinking about giving. Start thinking about giving. What is it that I can offer? And that kind of differentiates between this mindset of, should I throw a spanner in somebody's wheel? Should I stop somebody from doing something? Or should I offer a help if I can? Otherwise, I keep shut. So I would like to end there with that note.
No, I just want to add a very important point you mentioned. That is that sometimes you see yourself as one separate from the ecosystem that you are part of. Whereas you see yourself as a proactive player in that ecosystem, then you will have that abundance mindset. When you see yourself as I am a person to extract what is in it for me, then you are seeing the other resources in yourself as the extraction.
And then, the whole idea of giving goes back to our ancient philosophy of Vedanta. If you, I keep giving you the example, it's not my example, this is how Vedanta is taught. So let's say you look at this chair and this table. They have two different forms and names, right? They also have two very different functions. Now, if I focus on the form and the function, I see these are two different things. I cannot see any unity in these two. But the moment I describe them as furniture, suddenly they become one. This is also a furniture, this is also a furniture. The moment I see, okay, this is wood, this is made of wood, this is also made of wood, I can't differentiate between them because both of them are wood. I drop the form, I drop the function, I drop the name, but I stay in the essence. So in identity, so we do a lot of brand identity discovery in my company. But then when we talk about identity, we cannot afford not to talk about essence. Now a table and a chair, in essence, both are wood. Now when you focus on the essence, you always and always see, you don't see difference and you see abundance. You break this table and take this chair, still they are wood. So a broken table and a broken chair still has value to me. If I look at it, look at it from a perspective of the essence, and then that is abundance. You see what I'm saying? But then when you work, we also need to create identity because we need function. And therefore we have the form. same thing happens when you look at the world. What is it? What's in it for me? Or what is there in me? The difference is subtle. What's there in me for the world, rather than what's in it for me in the world. When I see that the world and the other people and me are no different, we are both great, except we are all conscious human beings. Then that mindset of abundance kicks in. We start giving, even when we do not have. I would pause there. Okay, thank you. I think I had a fantastic time. I have a lot of plans for Capita, by the way. I want to. So Nonlinear is a design-first strategy company, right? We do a lot of product strategy, and we work with a lot of big companies in terms of cultural innovations, in terms of cultural, what you call shifting the mindset for innovation. And then we also work with a lot of early-stage companies and companies which are of medium size, but they are kind of stuck in their process. They grow to some level, but then they don't see any more growth because of whatever reason, right? So we work with them and we take a design first to solve their problems. And what we have planned at the Calcutta is that I want to open up a new design hub here. We want to train, because I believe that in my city, in Calcutta, there's so much of raw talent, creative talent out there. But we neither have good training, good hand-holding, facilitating, nor we have good opportunities. So that's what we want to create. I'm happy to collaborate with anybody that wants to come and talk to us on this. And maybe we can do something together. I want to do more of such sessions, maybe once in a month or something like that. And I'll see where it goes.
It was a great experience to be with Avijit from Nonlinear. First of all, a design thinking concept has been converted into a fantastic strategy game, and it almost replicated what best a market can do in a situation when few of the competitors wants to win the marketplace. So something really worth pondering over. And the regulators in the game had a big role to play. I feel like that this game should add a new dimension of other things like spin-offs in innovation, as well as putting much more dimensions like how, why and when into the game. Thank you, it was a lovely experience.
I think today's event was a great testimonial to the power of ideas prevailing over reality. The way you could construct ideas and bring them to fruition, and the entire process is structured to help achieve that. So I think it's a great example of innovation and excellence in that process. Thank you.
So today the event was fantastic and great. I learned a lot of things about ideation, innovation, and about how and why into a startup and building and a prototyping. I can definitely vouch for Nonlinear. So yeah, it's a great place to be. Thank you.
Hello, myself Avijit Dutta. I am a third-year engineering student from Salzsee University. Mr. Avijit Dutta is my college alumni. So I have been connected with him since a year. So I get to know about this event from his LinkedIn profile, and so I was expecting that I will get to know about how a project is designed and how design thinking can be useful for my career, for the engineering and in general. So I came here today, and I have to say this was a fully immersive experience, and absolutely I loved it. The card game was awesome, strategic, and we all enjoyed very much, and I also networked with other teammates and other people who came with same vision. So I think everyone should once try this game.
I am Rahul Verma from Jadavpur University Construction Engineering Department. So I attended design thinking session by Avijit Dutta today in this cafe, and it was a nice session on how to approach a problem statement and create a product out of it using strategic thinking as a byproduct. The game which he made a state of 33 cards was quite interesting, and it gave me an insight at how important the strategic thinking and competition management is in corporate, and apart from your product and marketing and business services. So yeah, it was a nice experience. I would definitely like to recommend it to other people as well who are thinking to start out their own startup journey.
Oh wow, I think this place is amazing, and thanks to Dhriti and Shogato, we had a fantastic event here. Within such a short notice of 2 days, we could get 20 plus registrations, and then many people showed up from my network, from their network, and we had fantastic time. The whole design thinking game that we played, people appreciated. I connected with some of my alumni, buddies and then seniors. It was really amazing, and not to mention the coffee was also really nice. I mean, it definitely added to the whole flavor of the event. Thank you, thanks Dhriti, and thanks Shogato. The man behind the camera, Hamza, he is the real hero of the event today because he had patiently taken photos, videos, clips of all the people who participated, and people appreciated that as well. Thanks Hamza as well. Thank you.